Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 328 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you, as always, live from YouTube. Thank you very much to all the people who already left comments. First comment goes to Rich today, who says hello, but we need to get on because we have got an interview for you today. It may well be one of the last interviews of the year, so that makes it quite special straight away from the word go. In the virtual studio today, I have got none other than Monsieur Marc-Antoine Barrois, the couturier who specialized in couture for men. Perhaps we might have a chance to talk about that. But then in 2016, decided to branch out into the world of perfume with one of these scents here, B683. Whose name was kind of inspired by Le Petit Prince, the story that a lot of you may be familiar with. Then a few years later came the scent Ganymede. And then even though all of that is recent history, I think we can say that the rest is history because he enjoyed huge success with Ganymede. It won several awards and it has become something of a cult classic in its own right. That was composed by Quentin Bisch, or Quentin Bisch, some of you may know him. And in fact, all of these scents have been composed by Bisch, including the latest one, which came out just a few months ago, called Encelade. So I'm sure we will have lots to talk about in relation to Ganymede, lots to talk about in relation to Encelade, lots to talk about in relation to working with one of the most talented perfumers of his generation. So please give a warm welcome to the Persolaise studio to Marc-Antoine Barrois, coming to us live from Paris. Hello there, sir. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing well.
Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Go on.
Thank you for welcoming me in your studio.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's really, really great that you've taken the time to be with us in what I know is a very, very busy schedule. Now, for those of you watching live, you know that there will come a certain point when I will take questions from the audience. Hang on to those questions for the moment. I will tell you when it's okay to start asking those questions. And if you would like to tell us where it is that you are watching from, it's always wonderful for us to find out. So, Marc-Antoine, lots and lots of ground that we could cover, but I suppose in a way I would like to start with one of the most recent developments in your career, and not particularly related to a perfume, but related to the fact that you have quite recently opened your first boutique outside of France, and that is the boutique that is in London, in Piccadilly, just up the road from Fortnum and Mason. Why did you think that this was the right time to open a boutique? And also, if I can straight away come out with another question, it's quite brave, isn't it, to open a boutique when you have only, if I can put it that way, 4 perfumes? So were you worried about taking the risk?
For me, opening in London was quite a dream. So I really, I must say, sometimes people ask me, what do you dream of being in 10 years or in 5 years? And I never had such a dream of opening a boutique in London. But a year and a half ago, I got a chance to meet a brilliant lady in London. And she tells me, well, you know, I'm searching for boutiques for brands, and I've seen a beautiful boutique in Piccadilly Arcade, and I think it would match perfectly for you after seeing your boutique in Paris, because we just had opened then a new boutique in Paris. So I came to London, visited this store, and fell in love. Like, it was love at first sight with this store. And then I took time. It took me a year to figure out what I would do in it. And London indeed was quite a kid's dream, because, as I said during the opening, as a kid from north of France, every school trip we were going to Canterbury or to Dover, but like if there was no train to London, it was not possible for the trip to go farther. And I never visited London before I was 19 years old. And London has always been synonymous for me of all those fairy tales and all those kids' books where you read about London, about the magical of this city, where it's full of park, full of beautiful windows, and things incredible and magical. So it was an achievement I wanted to do, and I'm really super proud and happy I did it. I've never been afraid, to answer your second part of question, I've never been afraid of not making it possible, because when you see all the brands have 12, 20, 30 perfumes and they open the boutique only then, I get back to the answer I gave one time to an investor, which I'm at the moment I have no investors, because my company is family owned only by me and my mother. But when when I met one time an investor and he told me about my perfume, saying, well, it's not very interesting for me because you only have 2 perfumes. And I said, well, at some point, I don't want to do 12 bad perfumes to be able to sell 2 good perfumes. So I've always stick to my conviction of making only exceptional products. So it takes us time, indeed, as you said. I met perfumer Quentin Bisch in 2015. 2016, we launched B683, and then it took us 3 years to launch Ganymede, 3 more years to launch Encelade. So we take our time to create beautiful products, but we know at some point it's none of our perfume are slow sellers. They're all good sellers. They all please. They're all unique signatures. So I'm not selling B683 to the same person that buys Ganymede, but they're all selling well. So when we compare the figures we do in our store in Paris to the stores of other brands, I was not wondering at all that we could do very well in London.
No, but that's fascinating, actually, and yes, we can see for ourselves that you do take your time with the releases. I want to stick with the London boutique for a little while, actually, because you've already mentioned words like fantasy and fairy tale and stories, and I know that those sorts of ideas and themes and concepts are very, very important to you. Now, one of the first things that somebody would notice when they go into your London boutique is a huge blue rabbit hanging upside down. Tell us about the blue rabbit.
Well, it's something I wanted. Everywhere in England, you can buy my perfumes on my website. So why do I need to do retail? Why do I need to do like real retail in physical retail? And my conviction is that we have something inside of us that deserves humanity, that deserves the fact that to meet someone and to talk to someone. But also there's something we can do more online than more on physical retail than online, is you can kind of trigger emotion, like to bring emotion to our clients and to offer something different. And so when you go in my boutique, could be in Paris or in London, what I try to do is to trigger your emotions, to trigger your inner child. I like to say that I'm very lucky, and I'm like one of the most lucky men, because I can do what I like to do, what I love to do, and I can remain really faithful to who I am. I'm faithful to my conviction. I'm faithful to my passion, and everything I do, I do it with a child mind. I'm always trying to figure out how can I play with things. And it's, if you look at life, if you look at our society with an adult mind, well, I'm not sure I'm not sure it's the type of life I want to live. I really enjoy looking at nature, looking at things with a child mind. And when I walk in London, I'm not looking at the rain. I'm looking at the windows of Fortnum and Mason, which are incredible. Or I'm looking at the illumination of Regent Street. I'm looking at other things that are making my eyes.
Which I totally get and I totally understand. But why a blue rabbit?
So when you enter in my store, I wanted to surprise people with something, and the blue rabbit for me comes from many fairy tales from the UK. Can be from Alice in the Wonderland, where you change the size, and why wouldn't you, when you enter the door, you are like entering in a world that is not belonging to the real world. You're entering in an imaginary world where there is a blue rabbit. And it's not making it doesn't need to have like a mathematical or rational explanation to that to show that it's fun. You enter in a place where it's not only about serious things. It's about a place where the relation you have to think is, well, it's very normal to have a blue rabbit in my boutique because it's there. And in the meanwhile, when you go further in the boutique, you would find a very, very thin, narrow door, like 18 centimeters high and 5 centimeters wide. And it's the same door as the first door. But once you entered in the boutique, your size already diminished so many that the blue rabbit is so huge. But if you go closer to the small door, you can like open it. And inside it's an even smaller boutique. There's even 2 beds in it. There's like a little office, a little everything. It's a little world, a little different world. And my idea is always to bring people to question themselves. It's like, if someone like created this, is also probably because we could also wonder about those things. So
so yes, you're always playing with scales as well, I think, and scale is an important concept in your perfumes too. Is there a kind of, if you can sum it up maybe in a few lines, is there a sort of difference between the typical perfume shopper in London and the typical perfume shopper in Paris?
I really can't say. I don't know what the typical shopper is in Paris or in London. It's so various and so different, and that's the thing I'm always telling to my collaborators in the stores and everywhere. It's like there's no typical clients for us. It can be anyone. It's just anyone who wish to live an experience or to find something exceptional, to find something different. We're not judging people on how they look like or how they behave or anything. The only type of clients I'm putting out of the boutique is rude people. It's like we want to be with nice people, and we want to have nice clients, and bringing them lots of smile and bringing them like lots of welcome makes the fact that we are very lucky to be surrounded by people that are really positive and optimistic. And that's what I can give to them. It's like it doesn't cost me anything to give a smile and to give them a bit of optimism and to give them a bit of joy. And I would be very happy if I could only even do that.
And let's hope there aren't too many rude people in London. So, okay, we've talked a little bit about the boutique. Now let's go back. Let's go back a few years and start getting a little bit about, finding out what's brought us to this point. I know when we spoke a few months ago, you told me that when you set up your couture brand and started doing your couture work, lots and lots of people said to you, oh, you should do a perfume, but you were very resistant to the idea. You thought you don't want to be the typical couturier who then launches a perfume brand, etc., etc. But then you met Quentin Bisch and things changed clearly. So what was it about that encounter, do you think, that convinced you that the time was right to launch Ascent?
Oh, that's many things. First thing, and I'm not going to give any names, but the perfumer I had met before that had told me, you should do a perfume with me, or we should do something, your brand deserves a perfume and everything. I'm not sure I really liked their creative universe and their creative mind. So it's a fact to like the person, but to like his work and his way to look at the world and to look at the creation is another thing. So I think I liked very much some of the people I had met before, but without the intuition that it's important to do something more with them. Meeting Quentin Bisch was very different. First, I was meeting someone the same age as me. Second thing, we were wearing the same perfume. Not exactly the same perfume, the same layering of perfume. Which
are you going to tell us what it was?
Yeah, I can tell you what it was. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it to. I'm going to leave it to something quite unique and quite imaginary. It's better. But the first day we met, it told me, I know what you're wearing as a perfume, and I thought he could not tell me because it was a layering of two perfumes, and that I was making for a long time, and he knew because he was wearing the same layering. So it was quite a funny anecdote about that. But so many things brought us together when we discussed and when we knew all the things we had in common, all the common points we had from our family background, from our childhood background, from many things. We really felt like, in a way, I felt I had met a twin brother when I met Quentin Bisch. So it's really what made me think, okay, if I want to make a perfume, maybe it's the only guy that can understand me. And one of the first things I told him is, Quentin, my vocabulary is couture and your vocabulary is perfume. So we need to learn to communicate, to talk the same language. And Quentin has been really, really cool with that. And we made like what I felt being an olfactive psychoanalysis, where I was smelling perfume, giving him my point of view on the perfume, not on the perfume, but on the raw material. For example, smelling geraniol and saying, oh, this, I like it, I don't like it, it's blue for me, it's green for me, it's red for me, it's linked to this memory or bad memory. And with Quentin, I felt there was this connection, this osmosis, where I felt I could do it very...
organically?
I could be very honest and do it very organically, exactly. And we learned to communicate through this, and really, I think he realized then how close we were together and how connected we were, and that really
And so
helped him also.
if you're the same age and you're roughly from the same part of France and everything, does that mean that your childhood experiences of perfume were also the same? Did you have relatives who were kind of, or family members who had been wearing the same perfumes?
Not exactly, because his story with perfume comes from many things, from the perfume of his parents, from the perfume of one of his teachers, and things like that. Whether mine comes from mostly from the perfume of my grandmother, the perfume of my mother, which are different perfumes, but still we had same experience of perfume within nature. His parents used to bring on the table, on the family table every day or every week, like fresh cut flowers from the garden, and very generous and very generous flower pieces from the garden. Was the same at home. With my parents, it was like the garden was quite big, and they were like cutting flowers, bringing it inside, and so it was smelling mimosa when it was a time of mimosa. It was smelling magnolia when it was time of magnolia. It was smelling roses during the summer. It was always with fresh flowers. So we had this smell of, and we grew up a lot with being in the nature many times, like in a way in very normal families where we smelled the cooking, we smelled many things, and we were like very connected with so many memories like this together. So this is the point where we met, where we met like that, and
together.
We realized how close we were. And then after, it was just a question of trust. It's like he trusted me the same way I trusted him, and the connection made it easy to work. Because if I work like this with Quentin Bisch, it's mostly the main recipe is trust. Is that I trust the fact that he's working, he's creating genuinely masterpieces.
Had you been aware of some of his work, some of his perfume work, before you met him? What were some of his creations that you admired?
When I've met him, I did not know any of the perfume he had created. I very quickly knew about Fleur Narcotique from Ex Nihilo, which I liked. I've really quickly known about. He had not done so much things before. He had done an Azaro. He had done a few ones, but not so much. And even I had to consider the fact that what he had created was not obviously what I like for myself, but it was good perfumes. And it was trusting in the fact that we are so similar, we are so we share so much together that at some point, if he does the best for him, it's the best for me.
It's interesting. I want to just go aside because the people are starting to post questions, and I won't go into them yet. But one thing, there are fans of your work here, Marc-Antoine, but also there are fans of your shirt. Stephen says, "I want that leather shirt." Rachel says, "I want to wear that leather shirt." And Natalia also says, "We all do, Rachel." So the main thing you've done here, at least so far today, is advertise the shirt. And I have to say, actually, I'm not surprised that they like it. It is a very, very, very cool shirt. So B683 came out. Say again?
I was just confirming that it's a Marc-Antoine Barrois shirt. I designed it. It's leather. It's lamb leather put on silk. So it's a bit transparent, but it's really nice.
Lamb's leather on silk.
Yeah.
Gosh, that sounds amazing. Actually, I mean, apologies to the vegan people out there, but
part of leather, which I really like.
Very, very, very cool. So B683 came out. In many ways, it's a very sort of classical leather in some ways, not entirely. But I would like to talk about Ganymede, because when Ganymede came along, that very quickly seemed to take on a kind of cult status. As I say, it won awards, at least one of which was the Parfum Extraordinaire from the Fragrance Foundation Awards. While I spray some here and smell it, why don't you tell us about the story of how it came about? You know, what was the sort of original idea that made you think this is going to be the next perfume?
well, after B683, which indeed is a timeless elegance perfume, like a classical perfume revisited in the 21st century. With Ganymede, the idea of Ganymede was to somehow to go for the fantasy of something perfect, something. Later, I've been saying that later it's a smiley perfume, indeed, because the journalists talked about it, about saying that it's an antique sculpture with a smile, and indeed it was quite right with that. But the idea with Ganymede was really to do the young brother of B683 in a way that what is the fantasy of the of a younger man would be of something, the fantasy of what we would love to be, something more perfect, something more clean, something fresh. So we were looking for the freshness of it, and looking for something, somehow mineral.
Did you give Quentin like a brief, or do you not work like that?
We don't work like that. We work really with emotion. I even installed a rule between Quentin and I, is that I'm never talking about raw material. Like, I'm only giving emotions, saying, well, I want it to be more mineral. I want it to be more, when I found the name Ganymede and told him the name Ganymede comes from the most beautiful man on earth, that's Jupiter takes with him in the Olymp to offer him immortality. But in the mean way, Ganymede is also a moon from the solar system, from the moon of Jupiter, and it's a planet covered with oceans of seawater. So I really explained. So it could be something between the two. It's really the inspiration is to find something perfect, this perfect beauty, but could be a perfect beauty like you imagine if it's an imaginary planet, it would be a marble planet, like very clean, very, very neat, with like a little bit of water on top of salty water on it, and lots of wind on it. And then Quentin immediately understood, salty water, wind. So without telling him about brief or something, telling him about those emotions, that imagination I had around it, it went immediately for the everlasting flower, for the immortal. And so the global idea was found about making this the perfume of a mythologic beauty, in a way. But
go on, sorry, carry on.
So it's always giving Quentin the direction at the beginning. Like we went for B683, let's do the fantasy of it, let's do something younger, and then after, the more we work, the more we come with more things. The name Ganymede came only like maybe a year and a half after we started working on it. So we continued to work on it, and the name came, and the name probably brought the everlasting flower and something in his mind, and it's how we built it. And after, it's all a question of finding the right balance between the ingredients and everything. So it takes time, and that's one of the reasons why I do believe that to make a beautiful perfume, it takes time, and it cannot be made for. Sometimes I've been asked again this morning about made-to-measure perfume. I don't believe into it, because it takes so much work to create a beautiful, well-balanced, with a trail, with a long-lasting effect perfume. Sometimes just a very little change in Ganymede could kill it completely and make it something completely different. The everlasting flower is quite complicated, because it can change the perfume by itself, but we needed to put the mandarin on top of it. So it's many different things that makes it so complicated to make something very, very beautiful like it is.
It's interesting you say that, because actually one of the questions that I had for you was whether you would ever consider doing made-to-measure couture perfumes, but I guess you've answered that question already. So what were some of the main challenges with Ganymede? Did Quentin understand your idea straight away, or were there some parts of it that you had to keep saying to him, no, that I'm still not happy with this? What were the main problems?
I think the main problem was not about me not being happy with Quentin's work, or it was more me and Quentin not being happy of our work. It was like we had the idea, and Quentin was telling me, I need to do something more. And I'm not super fan of it. I need these little things. And every time I was telling him, well, Quentin, the only thing we need to increase the trail. And he was telling me, oh no, it's not only the trail, it's this little things and this little things. And that's the reason why I'm saying like our perfumes are composed by Quentin Bisch, because he is the expert of it. As in a way, he knows exactly, is as perfectionist as I am myself, and I know that when I think the perfume is good, if he tells me I need a bit more time because I want to try this and this and this, I need to trust him. And I've never, like, the biggest problem we had with Ganymede is that whether now it's been even worse for Encelade, but B683 in its time was quite successful. It is still successful, but it was when we launched Ganymede, we were only selling in a bit more than 10 or 20 perfumeries in the world, and those perfumeries were performing super well with B683, and people were saying that's quite unique to have a brand that performs with only one perfume. So we had a bit of pressure on the shoulder saying, I don't want to disappoint with the second perfume, so we need to do better. We need to do something better, and so that was the biggest problem we had with Ganymede, is looking for making a better perfume than the previous one. And it's exactly the same problem we've had with Encelade, is how do we make something better than Ganymede? Making something different, so not reworking the perfume Ganymede and making something a bit better than Ganymede. It's like, how do we make another story which don't disappoint people that knows us for Ganymede or for B683?
So what was the point? What was the point when with Ganymede you thought this is going to be big, this is going to be successful?
If all the time we were working on it, people were crazy about the notes already, crazy about the accord, the mineral accord with Akigala wood. It was quite new. It was like it's been reused after for other brands, but the mineral accord with the osmanthus and the leather, the Akigala wood behind, and bringing the everlasting flower on top of that, being like the contrast we have between the mandarina and the everlasting flowers, all that made something very unique. But I think I did not realize, and we have to think that Ganymede, before it won the award, the Perfume Extraordinaire award, was very good perfume, was performing, but it took a bit of time so that people get used to it. I kind of remember that my partners selling the retail selling my perfumes, saying when we launched Ganymede, they were saying, oh, why did you launch a second one? B683 was just perfect. You did not need to make a second one. And at the beginning, they were not fan of it. They were like a bit suspicious. Will it work? Will it disappoint our clients? We are very fan of B683. And it took like 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. And then August 2020, Perfume Extraordinaire. And then it's like it went up like this immediately.
Did you ever think when you were, sort of still in the couture world, did you ever think that one day you would be picking up an award for a perfume?
No, never thought about that. I never thought about an award for perfume. I was not even dreaming of having a perfume brand or something like that. I was dreaming, of course, because when you're an artistic director, you like to create more and more and more. So I can't. In a way, in my dreams, I knew I would maybe do one day one perfume, but knowing that I would do 4 perfumes, bring like emotions to people, to be able to carry so much of my values to the people, and to receive so much from them, because I must say that there's so many messages I received, and I thank very much all the people that are sending me message for that, saying that my perfumes changed their life or brought some other dimension to the life, and they're like help them making a meeting or making all those messages are bringing so much to me. And it's the energy an artistic director or designer takes. We take it from our clients, and even though I don't talk to my clients every day or anything, I read messages, and they're full of energy for me.
Now, we're almost at the half-hour mark, so I should say, if you've just tuned in, you're watching a live interview with Marc-Antoine Barrois talking about his own perfume brand, all of the perfumes made by Quentin Bisch so far. And if you would like to send a question, I've made a note of a few already, but do send them through now. While we're waiting for a few more questions to come along, and also we definitely want to make some time to talk about Encelade, I wanted to ask something. We've already talked about, for you, the importance of playfulness, of fantasy, of fairy tales, of a kind of ideal world. You talked about perfectionism. Would you say that in some ways the common aesthetic that binds these perfumes together is almost a kind of adoration of masculinity, or a love of masculinity? I find, correct me if I'm wrong, but I find that the four of them present a very, very particular masculine aesthetic, maybe a little bit retro in a kind of nostalgic way, but not fully retro, because they're also quite kind of futuristic and sci-fi as well. But they seem to be about perfection and about perfect masculinity. I'm not surprised you're talking about Ganymede and Jupiter and gods and all these prime examples of maleness, of masculinity. Is that the kind of idea that is going through all of these perfumes?
Behind B6A3, it is. It's making our ideal and our fantasy of a masculine perfume indeed a bit retro. And the fact that when we discussed about B6A3, the idea was to make a beautiful perfume, and I thought a beautiful perfume like our grandfathers were wearing, but twisted in the 21st century. So indeed, this is kind of this retro masculinity twisted in the 21st century. But even though that, after B6A3, I really realized that it was not only masculine, like so many women loved it. And so it was not only a perfume with masculinity, it was a perfume with refinement, elegance, and maybe this type of beautiness of a perfume, which I looked for. With Ganymede, it was kind of the opposite. It was trying to find something really gender fluid. So indeed, it's a kind of masculinity, and I like to say the Timothée Chalamet type of masculinity, the one that is really kind of androgynous, androgynous masculinity, where you feel comfortable with. It's a very very aesthetic masculinity, something that is not powerful, and that something that is not powerful in the bad way. Like, it's not the man that is super muscular and beating his wife. It's like it's just
aggressive, not aggressive.
Not aggressive. It's the masculinity that is very comfortable with the fact to be a man, but also with the fact to have a feminine part in it. And in the mean way, I do believe that scents do not have a gender. It's the same for clothes now, I think, because when I do shirts, it's not because it's cut for a man that there's not women asking for it. It's like just say the pants was not just a man's clothes, and now it's a woman. It's as much worn by women and men, and you don't even think that a pants is a man's clothes. So I think for me, for perfume is the same thing. And for Encelade, for our last perfume, the idea was the joy, the main emotions were the joy, the sensuality, maybe the sexiness, and the powerness. All those emotions we wanted to put in it were not masculine emotions. They were like just genderless emotions. So it's not thinking about, are we defining a masculine universe? I'm defining a universe that pleases to me and to Quentin. We're defining together like a kind of perfect universe, perfect imaginary universe, which is defined by two men, but two men who really consider the feminine part as important as the masculine part, and we don't want masculinity. It's just purely beautiness without gender for me, I think, now.
Perfect, thank you. So let's take some questions. The first question could be very simple, in the sense that maybe you'll be able to answer it very, very quickly. This is from JP Music, who says, when will the Ganymede Extrait be released?
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it now, so you will get to know at some point.
So is there going to be one?
there's no reason for not being a Ganymede extrait at some point.
Good answer. Good answer. Gosh, I wonder what a Ganymede extrait would have, because this is so strong already. It's okay, right. Well, I had no idea that was going to be the answer to the question. Let's stick with Ganymede. Rachel says, I love my bottle of Ganymede. Can you talk about how it's connected to space for you? I mean, you touched on the mythological connection, but is there something space-like about it for you?
For me, my word is linked to some imaginary things, and if we talk about things that we have in our world, like if I'm saying I'm inspired by this or this that belongs to our world, it's not anymore imaginary. This is one of the reasons I love cartoons. And thinking of bringing something into space or taking something from the space, you can imagine everything. So knowing that Ganymede, in a way, in the space, is a satellite of Jupiter or is an imaginary planet, because it's a place where we don't know what's in there. We just know that it's a planet where there is oceans of seawater, that there's an atmosphere there. Well, what would be the life over there? How could we imagine this? It might be a very clean life with no pollution, a clean life with like perfection and everything. It's how we imagine it. So it's not a question of making it a planet, a real planet or anything like that. It's making it an imaginary world where I'd like to imagine that this planet is really perfect.
Okay, wonderful. And Peroli says, Ganymede extrait, take my money now. So you could have the orders coming in. Question from Paolo. He says, is a sense of absolute beauty behind the creation of your perfumes? And if so, how would you define absolute beauty?
I'm not sure about the term absolute, because it's very relative to people. But I think in our world, we need to, like, we've lost something. When you see the architectural part of the early 20th century, late 19th century, people were looking for beauty. Everything was in the detail and everything. And within the time, we went into ready-to-wear. We went into buildings that are built with like by economic people that are going for the cheapest solution or the most economical solution to do things. And I think in my world, I like to say buy less but better. And I've been saying that with clothes where all the details were important. I'm wearing a shirt today. Like the little pieces there, they're like hand carved by someone that created the things and everything. It's all looking for details and creating beautiful things. So beauty is relative, and the beauty to me is probably different from the beauty to another one. But when you go for a brand and for an artistic director, it's because you believe that my vision of beauty is something you share. Or at least it's something you want for yourself. So I don't have a huge ego, but at least I think I have a good taste. I have a taste that I can share with people, and I'm looking indeed for the details, for the subtlety of things, where I'm trying to do beautiful pieces of clothes, beautiful pieces of perfumes, beautiful bottles, beautiful boxes, trying to find the right balance between not going into the vulgar, not going into something that is not good taste to me, but finding the right balance between something that is refined, subtle, and with details to make it beautiful. So it's all about that. And I think this helps me to create those signatures.
Thank you. And thanks for the question as well, Paolo. We'll take one more on Ganymede, because this is what people want to be talking about. This is from David, who says, did you, or Quentin, I suppose, take inspiration from Dior Fahrenheit when composing Ganymede?
May I say something? I never smelled Dior Fahrenheit. I'm very sorry.
I don't believe you.
No, I really can tell you. I've never been. I know the perfume. No, I've smelled it on people probably without knowing it's Dior Fahrenheit. Okay. But I started making perfumes with Quentin Bisch 6 years ago, and before that, I had worked for Hermes, so I've been knowing pretty much all the perfumes from Hermes because I worked for them. I've known a few perfumes from my parents, from my brothers and sisters. I know my grandmother's perfume, Arpège of Lanvin, which is one of the perfumes I prefer in life. I've known L'air du temps of Nina Ricci because it was the associate of my first boss. She was wearing it, and she was quite of a mentor then. It was like she was a very elegant woman, and I loved smelling the perfume on her. But I think one of the things that makes a difference with me and Quentin is that I accept, and I don't go sniff everywhere in all the perfumeries, all the perfume to say I want this. Is I want to remain naive. So it's sometimes very complicated when I meet other perfumers and people that they're very proud of their work and they want to me to smell, and I'm telling them sometimes, it's I'll do it for you, to make you pleasure to smell one, but I don't like to smell all the perfumes and to say, okay, maybe because it's saying that. Maybe it's right. Maybe I've been inspired by Dior Fahrenheit, but without knowing it, because we are sponges. I knew Acqua di Gio, for example, but the first thing I said to Quentin, I don't want this. But I want to create unique things. So if it's to copy it or to be inspired by other things, there's so many other people in fashion. It's many brands copying each other. And I guess in the perfume world, it's the same thing. So I don't want to be one of those. I want to be this kind of naive guy that comes to smell the perfumes in Quentin's office without comparing to something different. So it's going to be harder with the time not to compare it with other things, because I can now even compare it with my own perfumes. But it's something I tried not to, like, I don't want to do that. It's really, I'm trying to go away from everything I know.
Well, my advice to you would be that if one day you want to smell Fahrenheit, try to make sure that Quentin gives you a bottle of the original formula. Now, time is very quickly running out, and I want to take some more questions, but we really should talk about Encelade. So while I'm going to spray a little bit here from this bottle. Tell us about what decided to make you go on the journey from Ganymede to Encelade. What was the sort of thinking that ended up with this?
Well, after the beautiful success and beautiful journey with Ganymede, was, as I was saying, after B683 to Ganymede, it was even harder with Encelade. It's hard not to disappoint and hard to do something new and unique, carrying the same DNA that we cherish. So we are still working with the safraline in the heart of the perfume, but how we do something very different, how we do something very unique about it. And the idea with the COVID time coming and everything was to say, what do we want, and what do we want? With Ganymede, we have something very naive, something very innocent and pure. But at some point, do we still want something? The idea was to make something green, but do we want something green that is dry, that is perfect, that is well cut, and everything? And no, we wanted something very powerful, something very sensual. It was like we were wearing a mask, not being able to hug anyone, and we wanted a perfume that, like, you just want to hug. It's sensual and powerful. It's something you smell. You like. It's explosive, and it's one of the reasons why we gave it this name. Because when we said about something that is explosive, I went into telling Quentin, it's like what we want is like a volcano that it erupts, and it's a green lava, and everywhere it touches, it becomes like a lush jungle. And it's the idea was that this lush jungle on the slope of a volcano. And Encelade in the Greek mythology is a titan, is a giant that was buried under the Etna volcano. So it was exactly this. It's this idea of powerness, of the powerness of joy. Is what's more communicative than joy. When I smile, when I'm full of joy, I would communicate that to you, and you would smile probably.
So again, it's like a great big Greek god or a mythological god. We've got that kind of image in our head again.
Yeah, because it's, in my way, I travel into imagination, and I'm trying to bring people into imagination. And my mythology is about imagination. It's about something you cannot imagine. How, like, over the centuries, many artists have been trying to paint the gods, to sculpt the gods, but still, it's something we've never seen. So it's the same thing. When we talk about the satellite of Jupiter or the satellite of Saturn, we've never been there. We don't know it. So everything is about imagination.
So what were some of the problems that you encountered with this one? What were the sort of the technical challenges that brought us to this final product? Did it take a long time to make?
It took a long time to make because we wanted it to be as refined, perfect as Ganymede is. We wanted to be like to make sure all the details were well and everything. So it took us a long time. And the main problem we had with Encelade was its powerness, because at some points I felt, and my husband told me, well, it's so it's so powerful at some point that I just, my head is like, so we had to yes, at some, like the overdose of rhubarb at the beginning of it was like so powerful, so that it was unbearable for
Well,
some
it
people.
is huge. You know, if anybody thought that Ganymede was big, then Encelade is like massive, isn't it?
And we had to find a way to make it a bit less, because it was, I was in Colombia last year, and at the end of 2000 at the end of 2021, I was in Colombia and I was wearing it, so it was hot, and the hotness brings even more powerness to the perfume. And I was thinking, well, maybe like I'm hiking in the jungle, but maybe 20 meters behind me, the other people are smelling it, and they might tell me tomorrow, don't wear this sample anymore. And so we worked on that, and we wanted to make it well balanced, because it's not only a question of powerness, a perfume. It's a question about elegance. It's a question about, do I want to wear this every day? Do I want to make it my signature? So it was, the idea was globally there, and Quentin is like a genius to make this perfume, after to be able to make this step out of Ganymede and up after Ganymede. But we had to be able to make sure that every details were perfect too, and it's always what takes the most time with us is all the fine tuning at the end of the perfume.
And what you were telling me before you went live was that one kind of pleasant surprise that you've had with Encelade is that it seems to have grabbed the attention of younger buyers.
Yes, we see very young buyers coming in our stores, which for me as a couturier, you imagine when you enter in a tailor store, you don't expect to have 17, 18 years old young men or young women like coming in, like super cool women, like coming with very hype shoes and everything, and coming, oh, we just want Encelade because we loved it, I smelled it somewhere, and I asked the person who was wearing it what she's wearing. So it's funny to see, and every time people are asking me, what's your type client, your client type, the type of clients you have and everything, and I always say I cannot tell you, because it can be a lawyer one day and the next day can be a 15 years old woman, a girl or man coming in wearing sneakers and t-shirts and Supreme t-shirts, and it just want Encelade. So it's we have very different type of clients, and I'm very proud of that, because the idea without my perfume is to bring beauty and to bring my sense of refinement, my sense of aesthetic to the most.
Yeah, thank you. Here's an interesting question from Emma, who says, hi from Strasbourg. I've always fantasized, she says, as a fabric lover and a perfume lover, fantasized about perfumes that would somehow use fabric in their notes, or use I suppose, the idea of fabric. Would that idea appeal to you? I mean, you're a couturier, so you must have a sense of the difference between, you know, silk and cotton and leather and all sorts of different fabrics.
Yeah, I've thought about that. It's a point, and when we started working on B603, that's been a discussion we had at some point. Indeed, when I iron cotton or when I iron silk, when I like, the smell of wool is different from the smell of silk of cotton. I'm not sure what I want to do is to bring a fabric to you, to your life. I'm not. My idea is to bring something that doesn't exist. So using the smell of cotton or using something that smells cotton is not something I've done for the moment. I'm not saying that I'm never going to do it, but it's not the idea of my work. The idea of my work is to bring something new, something different, something imaginary, and it's a bit like if I was thinking, do I want to do a painting. I want to paint something. Would I paint cotton and silk? No, I would paint colors. I would not, despite I'm doing clothes. But personally, I love the smell of silk when I iron silk, when I'm making a silk gown or a piece of tuxedo, and there's silk on it. It's a very special smell, and I love it. But it's the same way as I love the smell of the iron and of all the fabric, the products we put on the fabrics. So it's because those smells are smells that are really common to me. I've been working in the textile industry for no more than 15 years, and it's been it's Madeleine. Those are Madeleine de Proust.
Right. Thank you. Could you imagine yourself ever working with a different perfumer?
I hope I'll never have to.
Okay, so at the moment we should just expect these to be Quentin Bisch creations.
It's it doesn't it would not make sense working with another perfumer. It's like Quentin for me is like a brother. It's really like really someone I trust very, very much. And the key with this success is the trust I have for Quentin, is that I can close my eyes and trust him.
We've got people liking your shirt, but also at least one person says, I love the glasses. Please ask what brand it is. Are you going to reveal your glasses brand now?
I'm sorry, it's not mine. I'll reveal it in the comments.
In the comment. Okay, so watch out for the comments. He's going to leave a comment. And I know that you won't tell us what your next perfume is going to be, but can you tell us maybe how long we're going to have to wait before your next perfume?
Well, I can tell that. You'll have to wait for March.
March? Oh, so it's quite soon then.
It's quite soon.
So not such a long wait between Encelade and the next one.
Yeah, that's quite exceptional for us, but we wanted to do something that was something we were really proud of and happy to do, and we wanted to do it fast.
But is it going to be something completely different, or is it the Ganymede extract?
You will see. Can say.
Okay, Marc-Antoine, I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful guest. Thank you very much for talking us through your universe and letting us see inside the mind that has brought a giant blue rabbit to the streets of London. Thank you very much to everybody for watching, and maybe next time you could come back. Why don't you next time come back with Quentin? Well, in March maybe we should set a date and you can tell us, both of you together, about your next piece of work. How does that sound?
Yeah, that could sound good, but we could also do something in the boutique in London, because we plan on going there with Quentin to introduce our next candle, because we also do scented candles, and we are doing a special one for the boutique in London. That's called Number 4, because it's 4 Piccadilly Arcade. So for Number 4 will be Quentin and I in London. So that would be a good.
And thank you for mentioning the candles, because I hadn't mentioned them. Yes, there is a range of home scents as well, and I look forward to smelling your interpretation of London. Thank you very much to you. Thank you very much to everybody for watching. Stay tuned to social media for details of more episodes coming soon. But until then, be good. Take care. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.